What is up, everybody? I'm sorry about that. I didn't know I was recording. Hopefully nobody saw that. Tino is coughing. But guys, how are you guys all doing today? On this Tuesday afternoon, we are here to talk about the last week of the fantasy football regular season, guys, as we are either going to be in or out. You already clinched the playoffs. You may have not. Maybe you need a win today. Maybe you don't. I don't know, guys, but it's the last week of the fantasy football regular season. And let's not waste any time because we got to get right into it all. And let's start off with those defenses, guys. If you started the Cowboys defense and the Browns defense, they went bananas and they went nuts, everybody. It was crazy to see these guys and these teams go absolutely crazy and absolutely bananas. And the Browns scored about 40 points in some leagues. The Cowboys scored about like 30. And if you had those defenses, you were feeling really good. So, guys, I hope you had those defenses. Also, who started the TD monster, Christian Watson? This man has 8 touchdowns in 4 games and just continues to do his thing left and right. It's ridiculous, guys. What is going on? We also have, and we also are going to see, like I said, the last week of the regular season. Did you win or are you eliminated? It's time to win or get in. Let's start off first, like we always do, with Monday Night Football, guys. Did anybody watch Tom Brady do Tom Brady goat shit? As Jadis says, he's surprised the Buccaneers came back. But are you really surprised with Tom Brady? Because Tom Brady is the absolute GOAT. And it's not shocking that Tom Brady is doing everything that he was doing. So, I'm just shocked. The Buccaneers won last night. Alvin Kamara really did not do very well. And it was just not a very good time for Alvin Kamara. The Saints, Chris Olave had a decent game, but there really wasn't much to say about the Saints. Rachaad White definitely made up for what he had to do and what he did with that last game touchdown. And we talked about Brady. Brady had about the best fourth quarter that he could have had, and then that was about it, and that was everything that we saw from Brady. Where before that, he didn't have any points. And yeah, but that was Monday Night Football, guys. And the Buccaneers are still in the lead for the division. And we're going to have to see what goes on in the weeks upcoming and the weeks later down the line with this division. Because this division is it's a foot race to see who's the worst. But now that we talked about the Monday night game, let's get in and let's continue with the bad news, because we just talked about the Saints and not a very good game for the Saints and fantasy purposes. Let's talk about the injuries, because there were a lot of injuries that went down this week, and it happens at the worst time, guys. It really does. We had Lamar Jackson. He has a knee injury. He is definitely out this week. If you guys did see, I posted a little short about a few hours ago. Lamar Jackson has a knee injury. He's considered to probably be out this week. Tyler Huntley will probably be getting the start for the Ravens. And we'll talk a little bit about him because I do think that he'll be a good player this week. Jimmy Garoppolo, the injuries for the 49ers just continue and continue and continue. Jimmy Garoppolo is now out for the season with a foot injury. And Jimmy Garoppolo will be out again. And now they're going to the rookie. And they're going to the kid that we didn't really have to, we didn't think that we'd have to be talking about. But we will definitely be talking about this Brock Purdy. Hopefully I'm saying that right. But Brock is starting for the 49ers. Is he going to be bad for George Kittle and Deebo Samuel? I don't know, guys. I don't know if we can really sit Deebo and Kittle in this week of the fantasy football season, because you may need a win. Unless you absolutely clinched it, then I don't know if you can absolutely sit these guys. Kenneth Walker, been a waiver wire darling all season long, and now he is out, and we'll be talking about his backup, actually a couple of his backups in this episode, because it does look like that we will possibly be seeing them start, and we will be seeing Kenneth Walker out for a little bit period of time. Joe Mixon missed the game again on on Sunday, and Samaje Perine stepped in and did his thing and did what he usually does. So, I mean, as long as Perine is doing what he does, I would keep Perine on your team and hope that, yes, Joe Mixon is great, but honestly, Samaje Perine hasn't been that bad, guys. So, that's what's going on with the Cincinnati backfield. We got Hayden Hurst. Speaking of the Bengals, Hayden Hurst is out this week with a calf injury. Also out this week with a calf injury is Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks is out this week, and it looks like he was out last week, I should say. We'll have to keep an eye on it because, like I do always say, guys, this is only Tuesday, so a lot could change. I mean, Joe Mixon wasn't ruled out until Sunday afternoon. So, just keep an eye on it because you never know. These guys, these backups could lead you to a win. Samaje Perine's definitely been that. Cordell Sutton's out, and he possibly will miss this week with a hamstring injury. Again, like I said, it is only Tuesday. So just keep an eye on it and see everything that happens with these guys. I'm sorry, guys. I'm a mess today. But now that we talked about the injuries, let's get into the guys that had and that were very disappointing this week before we get a little positivity on this and we talk a little positivity and we talk about the disappointments. But before we do the disappointments, I can't forget about the 3 things that I learned this week. So before we do those disappointments, let me tell you the 3 things that I learned going into the last week of the fantasy football regular season. The 6th wide receiver, Deontay Johnson, guys, is the 6th wide receiver since 1992 to have 100 targets and 0 interceptions. We thought this guy was going to be absolutely great. We thought this guy was going to come in and do his thing, and it has just not turned into that, and it's turned into absolute just nothing for Deontay Johnson. Don't start running backs versus the 49ers. I was forced to be put into a situation where I had to start Jeff Wilson Jr., but Jeff Wilson Jr. got 0.3 points. The 49ers have not given up a point in the second half, and I don't know how long. Jalen Waddle had 1.3 points. Tua didn't have a phenomenal game. The only guy that really had a great game on the 49ers, or on the Dolphins, I should say, is Tyreek Hill. So there really wasn't anybody. So I learned my lesson. Don't start the running backs versus those Niners. And lastly, I mentioned it in the headlines. Those Cowboys, guys, I did not know this. This stat, they said, I think it was on the Fantasy Football Show on NFL Network. I forgot which one it was on. But did you guys know the Cowboys defense has been the best defense in the NFL in the last 2 years in fantasy? I am shocked, and I'm not shocked, but I am also shocked because it's like, really, like the Cowboys, like their defense has really been that dominating that they have literally done that this whole entire time. So it's absolutely crazy. And yeah, I was in shock when I saw that. And then those were the 3 things that I have. So those were the 3 things that I learned this week coming out. And now, because I accidentally skipped over the 3 things that I learned, let's talk about those disappointments. And let's start with my man Jeff Wilson Jr. I mentioned this in my episode last week that if you guys had better options to sit them, but I was in a situation where I'm in a super flex league. I didn't have very many options. There was teams on buys. There wasn't many as there is this week. There's a lot of teams on buys this week, guys. Buy Mageddon in the last week of fantasy football regular season. This is exactly what we needed. But no, seriously. Jeff Wilson Jr., I think will be perfectly fine. But like I said, that Niners defense is good. So Jeff Wilson Jr., I think, is definitely, you could put him back in your lineups this week. But like I just said, those Niners defense is good. So maybe we just don't start the running backs. Derrick Henry, my guy, what happened, man? You went out there and you had 5.6 points. You were averaging like 2 yards a carry, I think. It was not okay. It was just not a good time, Derrick Henry. Obviously, we cannot take Derrick Henry out of our lineups, guys. Don't be crazy. Don't be stupid. Just do not do anything crazy and get rid of Ryan Tannehill. Or I'm sorry, Derrick Henry, not Ryan Tannehill. We'll talk about Tannehill later. But Derrick Henry, don't be crazy. Don't sit him. Put him in your lineup and he'll be perfectly fine. The Ravens offense, guys, I am worried as a Mark Andrews owner and somebody that has Mark Andrews that, is relying on him. Tyler Huntley, I think, will be okay once he practices all week. But the Ravens this week had 2 touchdowns in 4 starts with Huntley. And honestly, if I remember correctly, I think those 2 touchdowns came against the Bears. I would not be shocked. If you guys remember, Lamar Jackson got hurt the week before last year, and then he ended up playing the Bears. Tyler Huntley did, and I think that's where those 2 touchdowns are. I'm being dead ass. Cordell Patterson, though, guys. Cordell Patterson, I don't know what Arthur Smith, he loses Kyle Pitts, and he's like, you know what? I need to find somebody else to ruin their career. And here we have it. It's Kyle Pitts. Or not Kyle Pitts. He already ruined Kyle Pitts. Now he's ruining Cordell Patterson. And Cordell Patterson was that guy for a long time that we could put in our lineup. We knew he could get catches. We knew that he could do his thing. But it just has not happened. But Cordell Patterson, it's one of those things. We might have to move him to the bench. Mike White, not too much of a disappointment, but I do want to say that we have this guy. He threw 300 yards. He did throw 2 touchdowns. I think. No, he didn't. He threw 2 interceptions. So Mike White, he had a lot of yards. He had a few rushing yards, stuff like that. But Mike White is somebody that I mentioned that I just did not trust because we knew one of these guys was going to let us down. And it just so happened to be Mike White. Everybody was excited to start him and everything like that. But it didn't work out. He had a rushing touchdown is what it was. And honestly, that's the only thing that saved his day. Elijah Moore is the last disappointment this week that we have. Everybody was high on the Jets. Hassan, I think I do have a runny nose, bro. So, yeah, I think I do. We can't be getting sick here, guys. We got a big week this week, so hopefully I'm not getting sick. What's up, Jeff Johnson? How you doing, bro? Let me get through the disappointments real quick, and then I will answer your question in a second. Like I said, the last disappointment is Elijah Moore and those Jets, guys. We were all high on those Jets, and they were not having it. So, guys, yeah. But those were the disappointments. And before we get to the last thing, before we start previewing Week 14, before we talk about those top performances of the week, and if you had those guys, you took home the W, let's answer Jeff Johnson's question, and let's see what he's got to say. Who do you like flexing this week? Hollywood, Josh Palmer, George Pickens, or Rachaad White? So, I am not sick, Hassan. I'm hoping I'm not sick. We can't get sick here, guys. We can't. I'm not sick. I don't feel sick. My nose is just running. But Jeff asked, who should I flex? Hollywood Brown. We haven't seen Hollywood Brown too much lately. Like, he is coming off. They're coming off for their bye. And this will be the first time I feel like we have all the Cardinals receivers healthy. And the whole, pretty much staff besides Zach Ertz. Because Zach Ertz is obviously out for the year. So, out of those 4, I would honestly probably take a chance on Josh Palmer just because Pickens, I don't know what happens with Pickens last week. The man got 0.3 points. The man got 1 catch for 5 yards, I think. And then Rachaad White, honestly, if Rachaad White didn't have that touchdown, he would have only had about 4 or 5 points. So I'd go with Josh Palmer because I like the Chargers. I think the Chargers offense is good. And Justin Herbert, even with Keenan Allen back, he's still throwing it to Josh Palmer. So I would definitely go with Josh Palmer on that one. Jeff, if you got any more questions, let me know, bro. I'll be here to answer them all. And yes, that is not fine, Hassan. It's not fine. I can't get sick. But Jeff, if anybody just joining us, let me know. If you guys got any questions, let me know. I appreciate it. Carlito says, day 2 of asking Tino for War Games play set. Bro, if somebody's getting the War set, the War Games play set, it's Tino. I'm not buying it for you. I'm buying it for me. He says, do you like Goff or Kirk? I like Goff this week. I think that Vikings-Lions game is going to be very high scoring. I think you could go either way, but I feel like the Lions are going to be the team that is going to have to be the team to, catch up. And I feel like Goff, Amon St. Brown, with Swift finally being healthy, Jamal Williams still being involved, TJ Hawkins, he was on the Vikings now, oh my God. But I think that the Lions are going to be that team that are going to be having to play catch up. And I think Kirk Cousins will have a good game, But I think it will be more of Kirk Cousins getting 2 or 3 touchdowns or Dalvin Cook stealing a touchdown and then the Vikings just running the ball. So, and Jeff, did you know the Vikings are one of the worst teams in the pass game versus quarterbacks in fantasy? So, that you could take with what you want with that. But honestly, I like Goff a little bit more, but you can't go wrong with either or. Day 2 of asking Tino to buy himself to get plays. Funny as hell. Carlito, you're funny, bro. I appreciate all you guys coming and hanging out, and let's get back into all the information. And if anybody has any more questions, continue to leave them. And after we are done with the top performances, I will answer some more questions before I start giving you my start, sit, streams, and all that good stuff. So let's start about those top performances, guys, because these guys went absolutely nuts this week. Davante Adams had 37.7 points and continues to prove that for some reason, Derek Carr only likes to throw to him. And I mean, if you're a Davante Adams owner, that's great. You love it. But for people that have to face Davante Adams, it's not a good time. Amon St. Brown had 34.6 points. Amon St. Brown did not. I mean, he had phenomenal points, a phenomenal game. Jared Goff had a really good game. And for some reason, Jared Goff and Amon St. Brown have as good of a connection as Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Davante Adams, and Derek Carr. So Amon St. Brown, guys, may be very well a number 1 wide receiver taken off the board next year because he's scoring points as much as Davante Adams. And that's crazy to say because they're like it's crazy. Speaking of Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown, though, Jalen Hurts went out and had 34.4 points, and A.J. Brown went out and had 31.9 points. These guys scored 67 points combined, and they went out and just did their thing and didn't care who did what or said or done. A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts did their thing, and they proved why they might be the best duo in the NFL, quarterback and receiver. Joe Burrow had something to say about that, though. He put up 30 points. He got his boy Jamar Chase back, and Jamar Chase didn't have a phenomenal game, but he put up 16.5 points, and if you're mad about that from a guy coming off of a hip injury, then I don't know what's wrong with you, but I take that all day long. We talked about those Browns defense. Those Browns put up 41 points in some leagues, 34 points in others, and about 27 in other leagues, just depending on how your scoring is. The Browns defense held and led you probably to a victory because when you get 40 points from a defense, all your other players got to do is perform up to the projections, and you would be good. Tyreek Hill at 29.6 points. Tyreek Hill did his thing. He had an absolute great game. And Tyreek Hill is one of those guys that just continues to prove that it don't matter what team he's on. He's just going to be that guy. Christian McCaffrey, 28.6 points. Christian McCaffrey continues to be the guy that we all loved. I don't know how it's going to be with Brock Purdy. I don't know, or Purdy, however you say his last name. We're just going to call him Brock. However, I don't know. We'll have to see how this goes this week, but it just is the worst case scenario to happen in Week 14 when we might need a win to get in. Garrett Wilson and Mike White must love each other. They must go to breakfast like Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford did because these guys putting on shows. Garrett Wilson, honestly, Mike White continues to start. You start Garrett Wilson as a number 2 wide receiver every week. So if you were lucky enough to get Garrett Wilson, you're probably feeling really good right now. Keenan Allen. I wanted to put Keenan Allen on here because he didn't have a lot of points, like a lot of points, but he had 20.8 points, and now it is proven that Keenan Allen is back, and at least for something going right now, Keenan Allen is back at just the perfect time, and now that Keenan Allen is back, Justin Herbert has his weapon. He's got Josh Palmer, he's got Deontay Carter, and Austin Eckler. So I think that, like Jeff asked earlier, I think that Josh Palmer would be a good start and Jared Goff. So those are the 2 that I would go with. So, yeah. But, everybody, that is what we have for the Week 13 preview, or Week 13 recap, I should say. And now, let's get into that Week 14 preview as we head into the last week of the fantasy football regular season in most leagues. And we get ready for the playoffs, as it is either you get in, you lose, you're eliminated, whatever scenario you're in. But once you make those playoffs, you got to win out to win the championship. So we got to get in first. So guys, now let's get into all the information that we do for the preview shows. And let's start it off with the teams that are on bye. Because we have bye-mageddon in week 14 of fantasy football season when we need those wins. Why do you hate us, fantasy gods? And we have those Chicago Bears. So if you have Justin Fields, David Montgomery, if you are starting Cole Kmet, you're going to miss those guys. The Packers, we got Aaron learns how to play. We talked about Christian Watson, the touchdown machine, the touchdown monster. 8 touchdowns in 4 games off your board. Aaron Jones. Who else? Randall Cobb, if you're for some reason starting him. Robert Tonyan. But then we go down and we have more teams. We got the Atlanta Falcons, so you're going to be missing Cordell Patterson. It might not be a bad thing, though, because he hasn't been doing too good this year, guys. We also have Marcus Mariota, if you're missing Marcus Mariota, Drake London, etc. The Colts, Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman Jr. If for some reason you're starting Matt Ryan, I don't know why you would be starting Matt Ryan at this point, but if you're doing it, I don't know what to tell you. The Saints, we got Alvin Kamara. He has not been very good, but, I mean, he still got 9 points last night. Andy Dalton, Raheem Shaheed, Chris Olave. I'm just trying to name everybody on these teams, guys. And then we have the Washington Commanders. We're going to be missing Scary Terry McLaurin, Brian Robinson, Taylor Heineke, Logan Thomas, Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel. There's a lot of guys on buys, guys, and it comes, like I said, at the absolute worst time as we are now heading into the last week of the regular season. But don't you worry, because your boy Tino has got you, and he's got waiver wires, he's got pickups, he's got start, sit, streams, and so much more. But before we do all that, and before we get into all the names, let me give you my bold predictions here in the last week of the regular season of fantasy football, and this has honestly been the only thing that I've been doing really good at this year, guys. So let's see if I can get one of these right this week. The Jets are going to beat the Bills again. I'm calling it on Tuesday, December 6th? December 6th at 2:51. The Jets are going to beat the Bills this week, and the Bills are going to be looking in shock. I'm not saying it's going to be like a blowout by the Jets, but I'm just saying that they might win by a field goal. No one we are thinking of right now is going to score 25. We got injuries. We got bye-mageddon. We got everything. We don't know who to go to at this point. But you know damn well that this fantasy football season has been so unpredictable that we are going to be seeing something happen and some guy's going to come out. And my last bold prediction is that Brock Purdy, the quarterback now for the 49ers, unless the 49ers go out and get Baker Mayfield, which was released yesterday, he's going to outscore the GOAT, Tom Brady. Tom Brady did goatish things last night. He brought the Buccaneers back from a 13-point deficit and beat the New Orleans Saints. And Tom Brady just did his thing. So I'm going to say it's going to be the opposite. It's going to be a Brock party in Tampa Bay, everybody. Or in 49er land, I should say, because they're at home, the 49ers are. It's going to be a Brock party, and he's going to be having a Money in the Bank briefcase like Brock Lesnar did a few years ago. But those are my bold predictions, guys, for Week 14. And now that I'm done rambling and I'm talking about all this random information about this, let's get to all the good stuff, and let's talk about all the guys that are going to help you, lead you to a victory this week, and they're going to help you, and they're going to drag your ass, or drag you into the playoffs. And let's start off with the waiver wires, because that's how we have to. We got to pick up the guys, and then we got to start them, and then we got to sit, and then we got to stream some guys. So let's get into those waiver wire pickups. And at number 5, we got Corey Davis. Corey Davis, yes, he's going up against the Bills, and yes, Mike White is obviously, I think the Bills will have a very good game, but like I just said, it could be a very well, and the Jets could play very well, and Corey Davis with Mike White, the whole offense is getting involved. So if you need a wide receiver, super flex league, like I am, I have a lot of buys. I'm going to try and go get him, but we'll have to see. Corey Davis, I think, is a very good pickup. Nico Collins going up against the Cowboys. And I know we don't want to start anybody against the Cowboys, but if Brandon Cooks continues to be out, Davis Mills and Kyle Allen, I should say, because it's Kyle Allen's team now. Kyle Allen and Nico Collins have a very good connection. So I think that Nico Collins is a very good pickup. If he's still out there, I don't know why he is. He's not available in any of my leagues. I've tried. But if he is, go get him. Number 3, Lamar Jackson's out, and yes, Tyler Huntley's only had 2 games with the touchdown, and he's only had 2 games, or he's had 2 touchdowns in 4 games starting as a quarterback. But the Steelers' defense is not the best. I think that Tyler Huntley getting a week in advance, a week to go with the first teams and be able to practice, I think that he will be perfectly fine, and I think that Nico Collins, and I think that Tyler Huntley is a good pickup. Greg Dulcich. We've talked about this guy a little bit, but we always need tight ends. And with all the teams on byes and with the guys not performing, we don't know how George Kittle's going to do. We don't know how anything's going to happen. If you still need a tight end, you saw what the Bengals did to the Chiefs. Let's see the Broncos try to score some points. Obviously, the Chiefs are not the Broncos, or the Broncos aren't the Bengals. But I'm just saying, we need tight ends, guys. And the last waiver wire pickup, it's my number 1 waiver wire pickup of the week. It's DJ Dallas or Travis Homer going up against the Carolina Panthers as Kenneth Walker is out. This may be a running back by committee, guys, but it's one of those that I would rather see, and I would rather want to see them not fight each other. We're not watching wrestling, but I would rather have the running backs from Seattle if they are there. So that's what I would do, because you always need running backs, and at this point, guys, we need every guy that can help us. So everybody, if you guys need those players, if you guys need those guys, go pick them up right now so that you do not miss it, and that we do not, because you don't want to miss these guys, because after tomorrow you're going to be real sad if they're gone. Hassan says, are you very low? Can you guys hear me? Is there something wrong? No, I my volume's good. I think I'm good, Hassan. But thank you for letting me know. But guys, those are the waiver wire pickups for week 14. And now let's get into those starts, those sits, and those streams. Those guys you can take out of your lineup, the guys you can put into your lineup, and the guys that you can stream if you have those guys I'm telling you to sit this week. So let's start with the sits, or start with the starts. As Jeff asked, who would I start, Jared Goff or Jeff, who did you say you had? Jared Goff or Kirk? I think, like I said, I think either or would be a great option, but I would start Jared Goff if you don't have a better option. I would go with Goff. I think, like I said, the Vikings defense is not very good. The Vikings defense does give up a lot of points. I mean, they made Mac Jones look decent last week. They made, Mike White, yes, he didn't have a fantastic game, but he still put up 20 points. And I wanted to mention him in the disappointments because everybody was like, this man's going to put out 40. Him and Garrett Wilson are going to go bananas. And we needed to take a chill pill after Mike White faced that awful Chicago Bears defense. So Jared Goff going up against the Vikings, start him. Geno Smith, keep this man in your lineup. I don't know why you're sitting him unless you have better options. But he continues to do his thing. Start Geno Smith this week against the Panthers. DeAndre Swift. I'm telling you to start Jared Goff. You start DeAndre Swift, and he's going to be having checkdowns galore, and he's going to be catching the ball left and right. So DeAndre Swift, put him in your lineup. Isaiah Pacheco, guys, continues to be that lead back for the Chiefs. And yes, we see McKinnon get involved, and yes, we see all the playmakers. But Isaiah Pacheco continues to get the most work. The coaching staff loves him, and I think Isaiah Pacheco is a great start this week against that Broncos defense. Devontae Smith going up against the Giants. Devontae Smith had a really good game. He put up 20-plus points last week. And going up against the Giants, I think that Jalen Hurts is just going to continue to sling that ball. So you better put Devontae Smith in your lineup. I'm going to this week. Tyler Lockett, another start this week. Going up against the Panthers. If I'm telling you to start Geno Smith, you start his number 1A wide receiver or 1B wide receiver. I mean, him and DK Metcalf are just so great. Cade Otton, guys, had a great game last night versus the Saints. And yes, they're playing the 49ers. And yes, the 49ers haven't given up a lot of points. But I think that Tom Brady will have a decent game. And again, at this point, we need tight ends every which way, and we just need tight ends really bad. Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz going up against the Texans. I'm going to pick on the Texans all day long because those Texans are awful, and we saw what the Browns did to them. We saw what every team's done to them this year. And Dalton Schultz is a great start this week. The starting defense of the week, guys. This should be no surprise. It's them Cowboys, as they have been the best fantasy defense in the league the last 2 years. They scored so many points against the Colts last week. They're going to score even more against the Texans this week. It's going to be ridiculous, guys. So start them Cowboys and start all those guys that I just told you. So now let's get into the sits of the week, and let me tell you the guys that you can sit this week that I think that are not going to be a great play this week, and I just do not think that you're not going to want to start these guys if you're trying to get into the playoffs. Deshaun Watson, I'm going to take a my bad on this one. My bad. Deshaun Watson did not have a good game. Deshaun Watson sucked against his former team. This one's on Tino. Even Nick Chubb didn't have a good one. Nick Chubb didn't even have a great game. He had 80 yards. He had a few catches and everything. But I thought it would be better. Brock Purdy. They're going up against, and they are facing the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers defense is really good. We saw what the Saints did, and I think this game could very well come down to Alvin Kamara, and they could come down to, it could come down to, Christian McCaffrey and Leonard Fournette. But Leonard Fournette also, he kind of got involved at the end of the game last night, but Rachaad White was still in there. So, I don't know, guys, but I would definitely be sitting Brock Purdy against the Buccaneers defense. And speaking of the Buccaneers, I don't know if I can start their running backs. I just mentioned the 49ers defense. They don't give up points in the second half. Jeff Wilson Jr. had 3 yards. I think Raheem Morstead had about 25, 30 something, if that. And I just don't know if I'm trying to trust Leonard Fournette or Rachaad White trying to make the playoffs in my leagues. Dameon Pierce, guys. What happened to this guy? Dameon Pierce was the greatest thing around, and he was going to be the waiver wire rookie. He was going to be that guy we were all smart to draft, and it's just is falling apart. And he's going up against the Cowboys defense, and I just cannot deal with it. So I'm not talking and I'm not dealing with Dameon Pierce this week. If you guys have better options, I'd start him. The wide receivers for the Broncos, guys. I don't know if I can deal with Kendall Hinton if Cordell Sutton is out. Russell Wilson's been a disaster. The only guy I may trust in that, maybe Jerry Jeudy, maybe Latavius Murray, but even that, I don't know if I can do. Because like I said, it's a win or you go home. Jacoby Myers had 5.2 points last week, and now he's going up against the Cardinals. Jacoby Myers for the Patriots. Yes, him and Mac Jones have a very good connection, but I just don't know if I don't know if I'm trying to trust Jacoby Myers if I need a victory this week. Also, the tight ends now. Let's talk about those tight ends, because I usually don't have tight ends to sit, but I wanted to give you guys a few just because, the tight end position is so hard, and it's one of those things that we're just so unpredictable to call. And yeah, but I thought it'd be good to give you guys 2 tight ends to sit this week. Tyler Higbee going up against the Raiders. Tyler Higbee with John Wolford or what's his name? Bryce Perkins or whoever the hell it is. I don't know. I don't want any part to do with the Rams offense, defense, or anything, so I'm staying away from Tyler Higbee. Hunter Henry going up against the Cardinals on Monday night. It's not that I don't trust Hunter Henry. It's more the fact that I don't trust going into Monday Night Football, having to worry about Hunter Henry catching balls for me to make the fantasy playoffs. So if you have to start Hunter Henry, I get it. But Hunter Henry, there's better tight ends out there. And when we get to the streams in a minute, I will give you a few of them. The defense we're going to sit this week. Everybody, don't get crazy. Don't just look at last week. The Cleveland Browns played the Houston Texans. The Cowboys are playing the Texans this week. The Browns are facing the Bengals. They are not facing Kyle Allen. They are facing Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon if he's back, Samaje Perine, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, etc., etc., etc. So don't you dare start them Browns on this week when we need a win to get to the fantasy playoffs. So now that we got the sits out of the way, let me tell you the guys that you can start and stream this week out of those guys that I just told you to sit if you have any of those guys. And let's start with the quarterbacks. We got Kenny Pickett going up against the Ravens. The Ravens defense has not been very good against fantasy quarterbacks this year, and Kenny Pickett has been, one of those guys that has been very good and very, he's been getting better week by week. And I think if you need a streaming quarterback this week in like 2 quarterback leagues or something, I think it could be a good play. Ryan Tannehill going up against the Jaguars. Ryan Tannehill, he's getting something going with Treylon Burks. He's still got Derrick Henry. And I think this is going to be a bounce-back game for the whole Titans. So you start all the Titans. Derrick Henry. You start Austin Hooper. We'll be getting to him. You start Treylon Burks if you have him. I think this is going to be a great game for the Titans. DJ Dallas, you pick him up, you start him this week against the Patriots. It's that simple. Or Travis Homer if you need a running back. Just honestly, look at who's getting more of the first team reps this week and see who will be starting, and then look on Sunday on who will you see him. And I'm sure it will go the opposite way of what we pick, but I mean that's the best way I'm going to be able to tell you guys to make that decision. Zion Knight, this guy came out of nowhere, and yes, he's facing the Bills, but guys, we have 6 teams on a bye. We're missing Montgomery, we're missing Aaron Jones, we're missing Brian Robinson, we're missing Antonio Gibson, we're missing Cordell Patterson, Tyler Aguilar if you're starting him, we're missing Caleb Huntley if you got him. I don't know why you would, but we got to go deep and we got to try something. So start Xavier Knight against the Bills. Darius Slayton against the Steelers. Darius Slayton is obviously the number 1 in New York now. So Darius Slayton, I think, is a very good pickup. And start this week. DJ Shark. DJ Shark, it might not be the most tasty option here in Week 14. But I told you to start Jared Goff. I think the Vikings and Lions is going to be like a 35-28 game. I think everybody's going to get involved. So you start DJ Shark this week if you have him. DJ Shark Jr., that is. Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram, guys, got a touchdown. Yes, he hasn't had the best of weeks sometimes, but Evan Ingram, if you can get a touchdown, I'll take it all day long. And that's what we look for with the tight ends. If we get a touchdown from you guys, I'll take it all day long. Austin Hooper, I just mentioned him going up against the Jaguars. The Jaguars, not saying that they're not a good team and not saying that Trevor Lawrence hasn't done very good, but I think that that defense could be a little exposed, and I think Ryan Tannehill, like I said, Treylon Burks, Derrick Henry, I think all of them are going to have a good game. So I think that you should start Austin Hooper. And speaking of those Titans again, I'm just picking on the Jaguars this week, I think. Start the Titans defense, guys. If you need a defense this week, if you don't know who to start, go out and pick up the Titans defense if they're available and start them this week against the Jaguars. Honestly, all we need is a pick 6 from Trevor Lawrence, and then they could do what they want, and then we'll see what happens. So those are my starts, my sits, and my streams for Week 14, going out and coming out and going into Week 14 of the regular season, of the fantasy football season, guys. I can't believe it's the last week of the regular season as we now head into, we're getting closer and closer to the playoffs, as next week we will be covering and we will be previewing the first round of that fantasy football playoffs. So you don't want to miss next week's episode, because next week's episode is so important, because at that time, if you made the playoffs, it's either you win or you go home, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So now let's get into the fantasy gold games this week, and these are the 3 games. If you're new to the channel, these are the 3 games that I think will have the most fantasy points scored with the teams combined. The Browns and Bengals. I just mentioned Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. I think it's going to be a great game for the Bengals, and this means the Browns are going to have to try to keep up, and Deshaun Watson's going to have to figure it out. Maybe they put Jacoby Brissett back in. I don't know. But Browns and Bengals, fantasy gold. Dolphins and Chargers. This is one that people may not be thinking about. But Dolphins and Chargers, think about it. We got Tua, we got Waddle, we got Hill, we got Jeff Wilson, we got Justin Herbert, we got Austin Eckler, we got so many people, Keenan Allen, Josh Palmer. We got so many guys in these games that we could start and stream. So, game is going to be bananas. And I've talked a lot about this game this week, guys. It is the Vikings and Lions. I'd start every player in the Vikings and Lions this week. I would do it, and I would just do that because the Vikings and Lions are going to score about 60 points combined. That's my last. That's one of my guarantees of the week. And speaking of guarantees of the week, let's get into those guarantees of the week, guys, because I have 3 of them, and I don't know how well I've done on these, but I usually do okay. So let's start it off. The Cowboys defense is going to be the top defense of the week, guys. Let's be real here. If you play them Cowboys, or if you play them Texans, I should say. If you play the Texans, the other team in Dallas, or other team in Houston, Dallas, Texas, if you play the Texans, you start their defense. And I think them Cowboys are going to be the top defense this week. Devontae Adams has been the number 1 wide receiver all year. He continues to put up numbers that are at a ridiculous pace. Derek Carr loves him. Derek Carr and him must have dinner together or something. I don't know. They must be doing what Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford do on steroids, because I don't know what it is, but it's crazy. And then speaking of crazy, with 6 teams on a bye, I guarantee you guys that something crazy is going to happen. A guy that we don't know is going to have a game. Somebody that we're not expecting. A team's going to win. There's going to be something crazy that we are going to have to talk about next week when we preview the first round of the fantasy football playoffs and we recap this week of fantasy football. That is week 14. So, guys, that is all the information that I have here for you today. As I got you ready to set your lineups for week 14, I gave you a recap of everything that happened in week 13. So we got 8 people in the stream. If you guys got any questions for your boy Tino, let me know so I could answer them. I'll stay here for a little bit. We'll stay here for a few more minutes. So everybody, drop some questions. Let me know what you guys are thinking. Let me know how you guys are feeling. How are we going into the playoffs? Are you guys still alive? Are we eliminated? What's going on? And also, make sure you guys go, if you guys haven't, make sure to go and vote on which Christmas movie you guys want to watch as we do the category, the Christmas movies that include a WWE superstar. So which one do you guys want to watch? Do we want to watch Santa's Little Helper? Do we want to watch Santa's Little Helper? Santa's Little Helper. Do we want to watch Christmas in the Rockies with our girl Trish Stratus? Are we going to get Stratisfaction in the Rockies? We got the Christmas Bounty, another one with Mike the Miz Manzanin. Or do you guys want to do Jingle All the Way 2 with our guy Santino Morella and his Cobra? So make sure you guys continue to vote on the poll. Let me know what Christmas movie you guys want to vote on. And then we will be announcing that on Saturday. After SmackDown, I will be announcing it, which movie we will be watching. And then we will start the next vote for the following movie. That's Sunday when we watch week 14 this Sunday on Sunday. So, guys, I appreciate all of you guys coming and hanging out here. I'm sorry about the beginning. I don't know why the heck the countdown didn't work. I don't know what was going on. I'll fix it, though, before NXT. Sorry you guys had to listen to me cough, and, that just was not a good time and not a good way to start the stream. But I appreciate you guys coming and hanging out and joining me here on Tino's Time today. So if you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure you guys go and like and hit that subscribe button. If you guys enjoy the content, make sure to join Tino's Nation, as we are now on the road to 800. But guys, if you want to follow us on all of the social medias and you want to listen to this episode later in audio version, go follow us on SoundCloud and Spotify at Tino's Time. Also, Tino's Time Wrestling on Instagram and Facebook. Tino's Time 1996 on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Remember, guys, to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe if you guys haven't. And like I said, we are now on the road to 800. We hit 800, we do another subscriber raffle. So guys, make sure you hit that subscribe button and you join the nation. And finally, turn that notification button on so you guys know when we go live tonight at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time for NXT, the last NXT, as we head to Deadline this Saturday live on Peacock. And before we go, everybody, let's take a look at the card for NXT. We got ourselves 2 triple threat matches. It's Axiom, Von Wagner, and Chase U. And then we got Indy Hartwell, Wendy Chu, and Fallon Henley. The 2 winners of these matches will move on to be in the Iron Survivor Challenge this Saturday at Deadline. We also got Tony D'Angelo going up against his boy and his guy. And we'll have to see what happens to Tony D'Angelo. And then we got a real Christmas story written, performed, and just published, I guess I should say, by Pretty Deadly. Guys, live on NXT tonight. It might not be the best show, but I appreciate you guys hanging out on Tuesday nights. So, like I said, go follow all the social medias, guys. And until tonight, when we watch the last NXT, before we head to Peacock and Deadline this Saturday, this is your boy Tino, signing out.